This is Deandra Beatty, and you're listening to The Bowler Show.
Hi, this is Jackie Bowling, and you're listening to The Bowler Show.
This is Jeff Riggles of Storm Products and the 11thframe.com. You're listening to The Bowler Show.
Hi, this is EJ Tackett, and you're listening to The Bowler Show.
Welcome to The Bowler Show, featuring interviews with the biggest names in bowling today. Tonight, we're joined by journalists for thebowlingnews.net and Bowler's Journal columnist Mark London, PWBA and USBC Hall of Famer and legend Carolyn Dorin-Ballard, 2022 USBC Queens Champion Birgit Noreiks, USBC Public Relations Director Aaron Smith, and now your hosts, David the Waswo and myself, Luke Rosedal. This thing.
All right, welcome welcome all to the Bowler Show. I'm Dave Waswo. This is Luke Rosedal, and we're running a little bit late as usual. We're watching the Ladies Bowl, and we watched the finish of the PWBA tournament at Cedarville Lanes in Eagan, Minnesota. Another exciting finish, another stepladder ran, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, Luke, when we bring our first guest in. So let's go ahead and let the people know who we're going to have on the show this week. At 6:10, we will be bringing in Mark London from the column Just Paying Attention and the Bowling News. The Queens Champion at 6:30. Birgit Noreiks is coming on. I'm going to make sure we don't butcher that too bad like I do sometimes with the names. And then at 7:20, we're going to have Aaron Smith once again. Is going to get us up to date on what's going on at the USBC Open Championships. And actually, you said that in the promo, she's a legend. Anybody who goes by initials, I think, is going to be a legend. So Carolyn Dorin-Ballard will be joining us at 7:40. You may have noticed a little gap in there. Luke, with 7, we may or may not try to get Shannon O'Keefe in here. I know it's going to be next to difficult, next to impossible, but we will try to get one half of the Shafani duel, maybe both halves. We've been working on that for a while. So if that happens to work out, that's great. If not, so. What do you got for us this week? I know we're preparing for nationals for me, and next week, not to jump ahead, but next week, Steve Klimpkin is going to map out some bowling balls that you have suggested might work for me out there, and we'll see what we can do with that. But what better person to have on than Steve Klimpkin? Also next week, Dave Lamont was on the call today. We'll be on the call next week also, and he's going to be joining us. So that gets you up to date on our show for tonight and our show for next week. Luke, you want to go through our sponsors here before we start? Am I putting you on the spot, or do you have them all memorized in like me?
We can go through them. So it would be Double J's Pro Shop, or I guess we'll do all the. Okay, so my NASCAR jersey, I can read most of them off. So we got Cool Wig, we got I Am Bowling. It's both a pretty good.
That one's on there.
Pretty okay, yeah. Storm, of course, for both of us. Turbo, Bowler's Mart, SRGBBFS. Then we've got Double J's Pro Shop. And then
Bobby
Jackson's, and then S&H Custom Homes.
S&H Custom Homes, my sister, Christie, Hampshire.
Yeah.
And I believe that's it. But we want to make sure we mention those each and every week at the start of the show.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be on the show without them. Taking care of some of our expenses that we have for internet and equipment and whatever else. So, Luke, you got anything else for us to start the show? What's on your mind in bowling? I know you just got back from the Ozarks, and you may or may not want to talk about that.
No, it actually was okay. I've never done well at Sunshine. Sunshine the team house I'd never gotten along with it. And then I had an absolutely wretched double set, but there was a couple other guys that had a pretty rough set to get started with, but then made a good ball change. Angel's actually, she shot like 1830 scratch. And
more than me.
Yeah, more than me too. But yeah, we're looking pretty good for, she's going to cash in double. We're both going to cash in doubles pretty solidly. She's going to cash in singles and all events pretty solidly. So that was pretty okay. Speaking of nationals, I'm actually working on a video for my nationals picks. I've been really cranking them out here a lot lately, and so I've got something coming up here in the next couple days for that. And then, of course, we've got the KC tournaments that you're working feverishly.
Yeah, tomorrow's not going to be fun.
We're pulling double duty here.
It's Memorial Day. We're doing the show before, and
Yeah.
everybody wants to seemingly bowl with somebody else. I can't
Yeah.
bowl if I don't bowl on somebody's pair.
Yeah.
So we're having fun with that because we're kind of cramming in a bunch of stuff here together. But that's just part of the deal. It always works itself out. But I'm a warrior. Like I said, Mike and I go good together for our tournaments. I worry about everything. He pretty much worries about nothing. Right? Like I said, lane could be on fire, and I'd say, Mike, lane 13's on fire. What are we going to do? Well, it'll put itself out.
Yeah.
And then it usually does put itself out. But anyway, that's just kind of our story. Let's check in with Mark London here, our first guest, when we get a chance here. He's patiently been waiting. Mark, we were a little late to the show here. Obviously, we were watching the women finish up. I know you were watching intently, or you're reading the Waffle House menu there. I mean, the bowling news. It's got a lot of color on there. My version doesn't have color.
I know there was a little bit of
so what's new with you? I know
controversy. There was controversy with the show starting late, at least if we're watching CBS Sports Net college conference final.
Good baseball game.
When they're going to the College World Series. Yeah, it was a decent game. Or was it a typical Yankee Red Sox game? Mirrored our marathons, but good to see. Good to see out of the gate. Shannon had a great look. So it's a shame that way the logistics work out. That was a pair that was not used at all during much because it takes so long to set up a tele-bowling center that they can't use a regular pair. It's not like the old days on ABC where they set up overnight and then shoot the show and then tear it all down and get out because night. But kudos to Shannon and her 15th tour title. It's lucky that all of them have come into the last 7 years now. Or has been back. So for the hat to her. I mean, I was just interviewing her. I said, well, there you go. There's 2 Hall of Famers right there. No, and when eligible, I think requirement that Shannon isn't quite at yet, but I believe Kelly is, but I'm not going to confirm that. I'll let her do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell us what you thought. We saw Stephanie, the other half of the Shafani duo, running the step ladder. I'm sure that was probably going through Shannon's mind as she was doing it this week. It just seemed like she was playing the right amount of tightness, I would say. Missy and Brianna were just didn't have it.
It was a little bit reminiscent of something that I made somewhat famous in the Midwest region for many, many years, where it would get right to literally in front of the pocket and then turn over because the back ends are so crisp on these patterns. So the rest of the coverage on bowltv.com during the last couple of days, Kelly or Misty had an outstanding look. If you looped it a little bit, you had to have just to get the ball to arc at the back and not really hit the point and jump as the right hand lane showed us with Shannon having a great look over there. Of course, the 2 lanes played a different enough to notice, but figure it out. But it was great to show what if you didn't scramble and try to catch the stream off of CBS Sports.com. I saw a little most of the second match, but then they picked it up. I guess there was enough of a delay with the end commercial break, so they caught the very near the start of a break.
Well, I watched some during the week too, and it seemed like they were a little further right. And I don't know if that had anything to do with them bowling on 5 and 6 where they didn't bowl all week. But I think when you look at the 5 finalists, you're not real surprised because of the directness of the way they throw that those 5 made it to the show. I thought it was a fair, that's something they don't really bowl on a lot. 45 feet and having to play fallback. They're not used to that really.
No, they are not. In fact, those of us where you have both men's and women's tours on the same pattern, it is kind of set up that way too, because the men's tour has a lot more volume, obviously, a little further down lane where the rep rate of the gals, it doesn't quite make good, but they're obviously technicians out. A few more high rev players, but it's read in a certain way. You had to have just the right amount of speed and rev rate to make it carry through the back end of the pit.
All right, you're talking about famous fallback. When are you falling back to nationals? I know you have the spinning 9-pin helicopter. Did we talk about this before? Are you skipping this year?
I'm skipping this year again. Yeah, my knees aren't quite what they. I'm going to be sitting out for a little while yet. We'll see how they are in the spring and get back. Who knows? But as of right now, I'm stuck at 27 years of experience out there.
Uh-huh. All right, Luke, take a second there. I believe we got an update maybe on your eligibility requirements for the Women's Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Sherry, is that Sherry? I don't know who that is.
Shep Ramsey.
Shep Ramsey.
Yeah, go ahead and put this up on the screen. Kelly has 5 wins with 2 majors at this point. With all the grandfathering, she's eligible. So yeah, it's just tricky with the PWBA being gone for so long that there's some of them that you would think would be obvious shoe-ins for the PWBA that are just not, because it hasn't been there.
Right. I'm thinking more of the eligible.
Yeah, with USBC,
but still, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
no brainer.
Yeah, so I think
no brainer for both to be in.
Yeah.
Well, even though you're not bowling nationals, I know you've seen quite a bit of videos from Aaron's adventure now, I guess we'll call it. What do you think about what's going on in the scoring pace and all the high scores out of the nationals?
I feel bad. I would have loved to bowl this year to play the gutter. It just seemed like when I had my best luck there from 06 through 14, the gutter was open. If you could get through at the right angle, you could as often as you would like. But sure why they put it back out there, but it's there, and you better take advantage of it.
Yeah, I've seen all kinds of videos and then a couple of posts. One from Jeff Riggles, somebody asked him about, hey, where should I play? Of course, he gets those questions. He's like Luke, he gets 1,000 questions a day from bowlers, and Jeff said it's the place to play this year is out. So I don't know if you saw Adam Barta, game 6 of the day. He was still up second arrow. I know Adam throws it straight and hard, but he was still out to the right. So I think without giving away too many secrets out there, especially since it's definitely out this year.
Might get as far in if you burn on doubles and single. If you're all in the same area, get into say 13, but you're still feeding a little bit towards the head belly. There's a definite area to get the ball into. It looks like if you can get to the right of that hash mark on the 10 board from feet, it just has a pretty look going through to the pit, where it will basically hit both the and the 9. And if you're a little bit light, you're still going to have enough to snap it down. The scores are out there. You just got to have the right piece in your hand and type of roll so the ball picks up at around that hash mark.
All right, take a moment and talk about your column. What's coming up next?
Well, the June column, the June edition of the Bowling News, available around the Southwest and also online at thebowlingnews.net. Will be out this next week. Just paying attention, we'll have sort of a For How We Roll, the Tom Smallwood-based sitcom that was canceled by 6 ago, was along with four other shows, at least as far as CBS goes. Now, speaking a little bit with his agent and also Smalls himself, they said, well, there's a slight chance it might be picked up somewhere, but there are so many more venues, but then there's so much more content out there also. So, at least it was a step forward, like the sitcom Ed that was years ago, that bowling as a background. But Paul said it was he's a half full glass, and he said it was wonderful that it got made. He had a great thrill. I'm going to interview him. It's like being a creative consultant on set of a television network production. Have some name actors who've done a couple things. Just the fact that the Tom Clark authorized the PBA to have as a photograph in the I sent with the column will have. Of course, the names they had changed a little bit of this and that, but at least some of the bowling leagues they mentioned TQ. They mentioned just a number of things that would obviously know, but us being maybe 5%. When you have pushing 3 to 4 million people watching the show, the majority are not going to really notice stuff like that. But it was a journey that a year ago we were just thinking it was going to be the fall, but there was a little shaky when the original order of episodes went from 11. Then it was a fall preview, fall on mid-season, which was January or after the Super Bowl, and then it was on in what turned out to be March 31st for a brief 11 episode run. But at least all the some sitcoms and shows are so bad where they get canceled a week that you never hear from them again. They're even hard to find on VHS or even any streaming service. But at least with 11, pick it up. But then again, who knows? It's hard to tell right now.
Yeah, I don't know about Luke. I was kind of in the middle. I knew that they weren't going to have all the bowling stuff perfectly right, and I saw Bruce comment a couple of posts on Facebook where people were railing on the show, and he basically said, "Hey, I talked to him. I said, hey, this should be like this," and they just didn't always have either time, money, whatever, to take care of all those details, as they were more worried about their 95% of the audience rather than us. But I think probably the worst part for me was the single ball bag and the 16-pound house ball. I think that was where.
Yeah, and that conventional grip that he had, that he was. And yeah, that was kind of hokey. Just like Michael J. Fox and Greed, that movie that was out 15 years ago. He didn't quite look like a pro bowler, but I'm sure if they had, probably had a couple hours with him to show him a few things, and it was memorizing the lines and getting that right, stuff that. But at least it made the air for 11 weeks. Yeah. Or actually 9 weeks with a couple of double up. At least it was made. At least it was based off a true story. And if you look close to see Smalls' Facebook page, the actress who played Joe and his real life wife look very, very similar. So, that was a nice tip of the hat too. But Smalls is not a guy who's going to go on and do his thing and be that half full glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, I don't know. They said something about syndication or not like the other shows that are on for years, but somebody else could pick it up. I don't know. We tried to get Tom on a couple of times. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And Mark, my radio partner back in the old days, James Poyser, is a dead ringer for Tom Small. James can bowl, and he's a funny guy. I've told James, I said, you should have sent them an email, and I would have, done what I could. He could have played that part better to me, just other than not being a professional actor, but having all the other attributes and knowing what was going on in the bowling world. I think that would have been a perfect fit.
Yeah, I think at that point, showbiz looking to keep it more showbiz. They don't want to venture off too far, rails too much in their view. Otherwise, it turns out to be more of a documentary, and that's not what they're shooting for. They're trying to get maximum viewership. I mean, they had the CBS Hot new sitcom of the year go. They had their long established 9 o'clock Thursday night show Bold, which signed off, had its final year this year. So it was in a good spot. I mean, it lasted probably as long as it could. But I know my wife, who is all sorts of different television shows, real highbrow television, kind of watched for kind of shook her head and said, no, it's not quite there. It's a little hokey here and there. It's cute, fun to just sit there and just lose yourself for 22 minutes of content, but it'd be tough to make it last for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll do something, since we're not exactly the professional radio types anymore. Luke, I thought I saw Birgit in the queue there a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Is she there?
Yeah, she's popping in and out. She's got some.
She's working on some technical stuff. So Mark, you hang around. We'll make the listeners listen to you for a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, we can talk about Woz, the weekend of our lives where we Lucy on Extra Frame, or the front or the back on the old when Birgit, I tell you, weekend at the Lucy, wow, it was just amazing to watch. It was just, her pocket was big. She had a lot of room to hit, and those pins had no chance. She threw it very, very well that weekend. I'm stamp off a Queen's title. And that go as well, where it forced the players to play straighter, and that falls right. I'm sure she had maybe a couple issues with that, but for the most part, she struck early and struck often.
No doubt. Actually, we've got her technical difficulties fixed. So yeah, Mark, that was a fun week in Houston when we were at the Lucy when Jason Sterner and Birgit won that tournament. So you got anything else before we let you go, Mark?
That's about it. Still, still throwing the ball when I can. Or Motive Monday videos coming up in the next couple of weeks with some of our new product. Just watch out for those. And guess what, folks? That's Mike's out of here.
All right. That was Mark London from the Bowling News. His column is Just Paying Attention, and we are just paying attention to the silent queue. It looks like we've got our Queen's champion in the queue and ready to go. Luke, you got anything before you bring her in?
No, I don't think so.
All right, enough of Mark. Get rid of Mark. No, we're kidding. Mark, appreciate you coming on at late notice, but let's go ahead and bring in the 2022 Queen's Championship. Her name is Birgit Noreiks. Welcome to the show, Birgit.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. So,
We
sounds
hear,
good.
We can hear you. We've got you sideways currently, though. I'm not.
Yeah, for some reason your camera is not reorienting itself. So
You want to take a moment and see if you can flip your camera there.
yeah, just flip your phone right side up. Yep.
Perfect.
Looks great.
I can barely hear you guys.
Okay, we'll talk loud, or we'll try.
All right, we'll do some hand signals because there's a few. We got a little lag on the last one too, so bear with us and we'll make sure we get things fixed here. After you hear me say number one, bring up your finger. Number one. Number one.
I do hear you, but I just have to listen. Like if I keep asking what you said, then just don't.
No problem. We can
No
hear
worries.
you fine. So what we're going to do is let you do most of the talking. People don't want to hear us; they want to hear the Queen's champion. So just start off and take us through your week last week at the Queen's.
I mean, obviously it was a great week. Yeah, I mean, we started pretty slow, I would say. I had a really second block on the burn, especially the last two games. And so I was happy both on Friday. We're going to get better and better, but just trying to stay focused and try to do what to do, and I did. So I was happy I made it into match play, and yeah, try to win some matches. And
All right, talk a little bit about some of the matches. Did you have a bunch of close matches, or did you kind of breeze through some?
I think the first match I was kind of lucky because it was a really low match. And after that, there were some close matches. I don't know, the second match only. The one against, and then the one on the next day against Julia Bond. I knew that she has bowled like really well on this condition, and I knew I next win against her. We bowled like 720 to 690 or something. So that was a really tough and close match. Yeah, and that was the one that sat like the next day. So I think match 4. That's the one you really want to win because it you're like almost into the show already. So they're a really tough one. I really wanted that.
All right. Well, you won every match up until you got to the final one, the fifth after the fifth match, and it made you the number 2 seed for the show. Take us to the show. We noticed obviously you were throwing 2 different balls on 2 different lanes. So take us through the thought process of how that happened, and take us through the matches.
Yeah, I started throwing 2 different balls against the when I was. It worked really well because the lanes just the ball started rolling just so different. And I bowled against Clara and lost that match. I was pretty much fishing the entire game for good ball reaction, and so we said we're not going to try that again and just stick to what rolled really well. And then when we got to the final pair, they all started kind of, and I didn't want to do that because the ball reaction they had weren't that we said try something different. And when I had those 3 shots going into the match, those 3 practice shots, I already said I'm going to do this. 2 different balls, and I was really confident about that. And so I talked to Mick about it, and he's like, well, that's what you need to do. And it all the games before, a match before. And so I decided to do that. I just wanted, so it pretty much helped me to staying in the same part of the lane, doing the same thing on each lane, but just 2 different balls.
All right, so the matches are over. You finished. You're the Queen's champion. When did it hit you that you were the Queen's champion? When Julia came over and brought the tiara, or did it even sink in that day?
I don't know if it already had, actually. I mean, that I won the game. That I mean, I felt kind of bad. It was really a rough day or rough match. So going into the 8th or 9th frame, I knew I won, but it was still like, it's really hard to realize it. And, it was kind of late that day, so we just went and had dinner, and we had to leave the next day. Drove 7 hours through the rain going to Minneapolis and then bowling the next day. So I feel like I never really had a day to actually celebrate or let it, like, realize what I just did. And hopefully in a couple of days I just get the rest of it, realize what just happened. And my husband is gone tomorrow, so hopefully it helps.
Okay, well, we've talked a lot about the present, and you went in the Queens. Let's go back to when you first joined the tour. What brought you to the PWBA tour?
Excuse me, I did not hear that. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go back to when you were a youth, or when you first started getting better at bowling, and take us through the journey that led you to become a PWBA professional bowler. I mean,
bowling is always a big part of my life. My parents bowl, my uncles, my cousins, everyone bowls, and so I started when I was really young. And bowling in Germany, it has always been great. I've been on the youth team. We won medals, and so I was young, like 18, 19, 20. There was no tour. I didn't go to college over here, so it was really hard to. I mean, I never dreamed of doing this because it took like 10 years from turning 18 and know what I wanted to do in my life, job-wise, to when the tour actually started again. So when the tour was back, the first year I didn't bowl because I didn't feel I was ready for that. I mean, it's coming over here and not knowing it. It's pretty tough. I mean, if you don't have anyone who help you out, like staying somewhere in between, you can drop or whatever. So the first years, I only bowled a few tournaments. The first year, I just bowled the Queen. The second year, I think I just bowled Queens, and then after it was show and all, I had to come back because the finals were. And that's when I decided to bowl the Lucy with Jason, and then just kind of just had fun. I wasn't realizing it's out here, and just tried to get better and bowl more, and that's what I did.
I got a chance to do the Lucy in 2018 when you and Jason won. I was there doing the commentary for PBA Extra Frame, and that was a fun tournament to watch. And that was on some tougher conditions also. Do you think the way you play the lanes a little bit straighter, you think that kind of fits your game to be good in match play, and especially at a tough shot like the Queens?
I heard some of it, but I didn't.
That's
Lucy and then after I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, no problem. We'll do it again. The tougher conditions at the Lucy, I was down there doing Extra Frame for PBA, and I was wondering if you think some of the tougher conditions that you bowled on kind of translated to being so good this week at the Queens.
Yeah, I mean, I bowled a lot of tournaments at home, and we still had the European bowling tour. I mean, it's back, but obviously with COVID, like, break of not really having a tournament, obviously it's a lot different than women. I try to practice in hard conditions at home, so yeah, that definitely helps. And especially bowling the Lucy with Jason, we worked really well. And usually when you bowl with the guys, there's just a way, and that's going left. And I kind of have to chase it, but it's hard because I can't go left as the guy do. So we all feel like we're kind of up in the middle because you can't be either. So, yeah, but it's good to practice in hot conditions, especially with the guy.
All right, we're speaking with 2022 Queen's Championship champion Birgit Noreiks. How often are you in the United States as compared to how much time you're in Germany?
Well, I'm usually just here for the tour, really. So I got here like this year, here right before the tour started, and I'm going home after the US Open, which is the end of June. And so then I go home because my sister's actually getting married. And then I come back, I think like July 4th or 5th, because I bowl the World Games in Birmingham, Alabama. And then I go back home right after that, and then I come back for the Lucy and the Classic Series in Houston, Dallas, I don't know, one of those. And then the rest of the year, usually home, back home in Germany, and I just come for the tour, really.
And we've talked to Jason Belmonte a few times about the time difference. What is Germany? 7 hours? Is that right? Somewhere around 7-8 hours difference than here.
Yeah.
How does that affect you?
Time, and then 6 hours to Eastern time. So it's not that. But coming here is not going home is usually a lot harder that time, because usually I fly lose an entire day. So we usually get there in the morning, and then you still have an entire day ahead of you. But coming here, you leave in the morning and get here around noon or bedtime, so you kind of just have to wait for bed and the next morning. So that's usually a lot easier than home.
All right, we got a question in our chat room. The listener would like to know, where is the tiara right now, and why aren't you wearing it?
On the truck. When we finished the show, it was gone. I didn't know. They started taking the TV set down. So I saw that the Braves are kind of save the empty tiara and the truck, so I can take it after US Open.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So there's for the Queen's format, all the way up until the television show, once you get into the bracket, it's double elimination, and I'm sure that you're glad that it worked out like that on the TV show, that Clara didn't get a second game or a second chance. But how do the women generally feel about that, especially with Clara ending up the top seed? For everybody else, it's double elimination, but she loses the title match, and that's it. So how does everybody kind of feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I know last year because we didn't have TV, it was the bowl TV show. And, we actually, even you had to be Julia well, in the first match, so it didn't really matter at that point. But I think the ladies, for that, knowing that we have TV, it's not really possible, I guess, or they would have to change the maybe just for people making shows. You have to, you have to hurt twice. I think that would be great, but it seems a little fair, but at the same time, always like that. You can be met by like 300 pins, and then it's just one that you lose and you're second. Always kind of the entire step. Always. It's made for TV, right? So I guess that's how it is.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the unfortunate thing. We've seen a lot of times where people have had a really good week. They've led the whole time, and then it's a bad ends up being a bad pair, or they just it's one game and you're only throwing. That's the other thing, is just because it's 10 frames, you're only throwing a couple shots on each lane, and so it's just not enough time sometimes to overcome just not getting lined up, matched up, or whatever. Going to this week, talk to us a little bit about how this week went for you.
This last weekend, you mean?
Yeah, the Twin Cities tournament.
Yeah. I the frog, and I really shot myself in the foot. Minus 20 first block. I saw the right picture. I didn't start far enough left, and I remember coach is always used to say, "Stay left of the rest." If I bowl with the wind, and last week it was that's like right, which is usually not enough. Yeah, so I had 4 bowlers on my pair that started a little farther right than the entire field, and they did really doing it. You kind of have to do that too, but I didn't. So I had to go further left, which I never did really the first block, or not fast enough. So I just didn't, and I did it well enough, and I don't know. And then the second block, I've done a lot better the second block. I realized that I wasn't doing the thing in the first one. So, but it wasn't. I bowled well, but I couldn't make up these pins with that scoring pace.
Yeah. Okay, so something else that people like to know is you bowl all over the world. Where are some of your favorite places to bowl, and where are some of your places to just go vacation or visit?
I really liked when we bowled in Iceland, just because everything is so friendly, it's so clean. Yeah, but it's a really beautiful country, and I really love there. I also like Spain and Italy because of food, and also the people are really. And I mean, I wouldn't come back here if I wouldn't like it. So, yeah, and I mean, I like Asia too. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the food, but the people are really nice too. I mean, and I hope that we get to go to Australia this year for the World Cup thing. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's I've never actually been outside of the country. Now it's such a big country that I talked to Verity Crawley a year or so ago, and she's, oh yeah, I bowl here and I bowl here and I bowl here, and it all sounds very exotic to us, but it's about the same amount of space over there. So going to Belgium or
Right.
Sweden or something, it's not near as far as traveling across the country here, but there's some different places in the U.S., but it all kind of runs together once you kind of get used to things in the U.S. Where are some of your favorite places in the U.S.?
When I was 18 and 19, I was an au pair. Some people might know that, but so I lived in Savannah, Georgia, and I really love that place. It's beautiful. It's a city, history, and it's the beach type, and so whenever we have a break, I go back there, and or even I still talk to the family I'm with, and I try to visit them whenever we have a break. So it's one of my favorite places. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like? Yeah, and I mean, like West, I've been there. I like that. Even Arizona, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, there wasn't much. I just like I'm more like an outdoor nature person. So whenever there's like a great scenery, I like it. I'm not a big city person.
Yeah, I'm really not either, and so I see photos of, again, somewhere like Iceland or all these places overseas that have a lot of older architecture or just kind of more old world places. I'd love to get away and see some of those places. What is something that is the most similar to home, or what about the U.S. is the most similar to Germany, and what is the most different, or what's been the hardest thing for you to adjust to?
Like scenic wise, the north, like the weather, because especially right now, where I'm like from north of Germany, it's really flat, like 3 minutes. So the wind, Chicago at home, it's always windy, rainy. So that's like really like that. And what I really like about, I mean, I don't know, like most similar is probably we pay a lot more with cash at home. And then, well, the food, I feel like I miss food from home, especially the breakfast. It's like the sweet breakfast, American, like waffles, pancakes. We don't do that, so I'm missing like the normal. Like for me, like bread rolls and like good whole grain, like bread, stuff like that. You don't get that in a hotel really, or not that often. So that's really usually miss a lot.
Yeah, I used to travel around for work, so I've spent a lot of time in hotel rooms too, and that is something that I'd end up skipping breakfast most of the time because it's, again, cinnamon rolls and waffles and yogurt and all this kind of stuff, and it's just not good if you want to stay awake and perform well during the day, especially when you're going to bowl a tournament. So, all right, well, I think we're going to go on ahead and let you go for right now. Congratulations on the tournament last week. It's a very, very long format. Tough tournament to win. Enjoy the tiara. Hopefully you might be able to, I don't know what they do if you win the tournament back to back. Do you give yourself the tiara or put it on your own head, or?
I wouldn't mind that. I'll find a way to do that.
Yeah. So, all right. I think we're about to wrap it up here.
All right, I've been
well, thank you, everyone.
I've been hustling to get Mike Wolfe here. He's gonna join us here in just a few minutes from the airport. We're gonna get his perspective on everything that happened for your win.
Oh, okay.
Anything you want to say to him in case he's listening already?
No.
that's
no. He really did a great job. And I mean, he was there last year in Texas when I won my first single title. He was there, and he was here last week. So, so I can't complain. I can't say anything bad, and I really appreciate all his help. He did a really awesome job on keeping me quiet and calm, and let me do the right thing. It was great, really. He did a great job.
All right. Before you go, anybody else you want to thank? Any sponsors? Anybody else who's been helping you out lately?
Yeah, I mean, I've been with Brunswick for more than 10 years. So, everything they did, or they still do, I really appreciate everything about it. Vice, Fizz Sports, and Genesis, USBC, BPWBA. It's great that they are that they keep putting money in the PWBA tour. It's something that we I mean, we really appreciate that a lot, and all the work that they put in. So thank you for that.
All right. Well, we will let you go. We really appreciate you spending some time here with us. I know you guys' time is very valuable out there, and it's kind of hard to get with you, especially right after the show sometimes. But we were going to have you on no matter what, even if you won this week also in Cedarvale. So Good luck next week, and thanks again for joining the Bowler Show.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too.
Bye.
All right, Luke, while you were finishing up the interview there, I was in the background working on Mike Wolfe. I know she talked a little bit about him, so I thought, hey, we've got a little gap here before we get to Aaron Smith. And actually, I might try to bring Aaron in first. I'm trying to see what Mike's doing here. He's at the airport. He's getting ready to get out, but said he's got a little bit of time, so we'll play with that. Let's do this. Let's take a moment and let's get a word from one of our sponsors, for Bob Foster from BobbyJacksons.com.
Bobby Jackson's Trading is the place to sell all your unwanted precious metals, including broken gold and silver jewelry. They also buy old silver and gold coins, so check them out for all your buying and selling needs. Also, did you know that Bobby Jackson's Trading pays top dollar for your unwanted gift cards? You know, the ones your grandma got you for Christmas? Bobby Jackson's Trading is located on 23rd Street, just 1 block east of Noland Road in Independence, Missouri. They're open 7 days a week. Check them out at BobbyJacksons.com or give Bob Foster a call at 816-463-1919. That's 816-463-1919.
All right, welcome back to the Bowler Show, hour number 2. Actually, we don't have to break it down by hours anymore like I used to do.
Yeah.
On the radio, we had specific times for specific things. And actually, at this specific time, we don't have anything quite ready. And it looks like we're going to try to get Mike Wolfe here in just a few minutes. Luke, we talked about Steve Klimpkin coming on the show next week and him laying out some of my stuff for Nationals. Do we want to give a little preview? I don't want to give away any of my information because I've been so successful at Nationals.
Yeah. You want to really keep that close to the chest there. Yeah.
Not everybody can shoot 1,700 every year.
Yeah, I know. That's
some years not that. But we talked about some of the equipment that we're going to use. And actually, I don't know if you've seen any of the Beef and Burnsies where Stu's gone through his
I've seen they
arsenal.
had the video. Yeah, I've seen they had the videos, but I spend so much time making videos, I don't actually watch a whole lot of them. So by the time I get done with making them, I'm just like,
you and I are sick of bowling. We're trying to get people to listen to us.
Exactly.
only do so much.
Listen to us. I'm not going to watch anything else.
Why would we do that? But I saw the last one. He kind of did broke it down between the stuff that hooked, the stuff that didn't, and the stuff that was kind of in between, and gave you choices. And he threw both balls on a pattern that they designed that they thought was kind of, hey, this is as close as we can get. Something in the 41, 42 foot range is what we've been hearing from people out there, and you can play a little out. He was kind of in on all the videos, but he gave us a good idea of what some of the stuff, the Storm Roto stuff that you can throw. And you and I went through some suggestions on the phone last week. One of them I kind of didn't take, and I should have. I should have got a Zen Soul, but I did not. But let's take a moment and let's go through the balls.
Yeah,
okay.
that just Zen Soul just released on Friday too, by the way. So,
all right, here's the balls that I have coming that you and Steve Klimpkin are going to have to turn into magical bowling balls, because we've seen my record out there and it hasn't been so good. At least we know when Aaron Smith comes on, he won't be printing out my 24 years of scores like Matt Cannizzaro used to do and show it on the show. So,
yeah.
All right, here's what I went with, and this is just to kind of boost what I already have, which I don't have a ton of new stuff right now. First off, the balls I didn't get were the Zen Soul and the Nova. I probably could have gotten either one of those, and it may still. We'll see on that. Mm-hmm. But I went ahead and went with the Zen. I had an older one. It's kind of lost its luster.
Yeah.
That out of the box, that to me was the best house ball I've seen in a lot of time. So with the conditions a little more open out there and being able to play right and not worry about it hooking out of your hand, I think that might be a good option for me. I don't even know between the two patterns. I know they're to me, watching them, they're fairly similar. I don't think is that what you've seen? Have you seen much difference?
Well, from what I heard, they're kind of like last year where they have flipped. It used to be the team was the kind of 38 to 40-ish, a little bit flatter pattern, and last year team was the longer pattern of the two, and everybody's seeming to feeling like it's kind of the same way this time around. So.
Yeah, I haven't bowled since 2019. Obviously, nobody bowled in 2020. So I got to watch a lot last year, but I wasn't able to bowl. So I'm kind of going off the videos that I've seen and off of your recommendations. So a step down from that, or I guess maybe a little more in a step, but the idle Helios. For me, it's really smooth. A lot of people say, oh, this ball is instant hook. I didn't necessarily have that. Just like I don't really have that in the gym either. I've still got plenty of room in the front part of the lane, not worry about the ball hooking. So
yeah, and I don't know how they've with this the idle Helios. The cover is really close to the Axiom cover. Do you remember the Axiom? So I don't know how they've made the ball, both hook more and shape a little bit more. So the Helios and the Axiom are really clean and kind of sharp for how much they actually do hook. So once you show up to it's kind of hard to see on a house shot. Once you show up and there's actual volume, they look even better. They almost hook more because they've got more of that. The oil gets the ball further down the lane to where it can use it in the, in the proper parts of the lane. And the other thing to point out here is that the Zen and Hype Hybrid are going to come with the 4K fast finish now. So they're not going to have that gloss out of the box. And so they're going to be a whole lot more usable, especially for something like Nationals. We talked to Brett Cunningham a couple weeks ago, and he said, yeah, nobody really had any surfaces under 3,000. So that 4K fast finish that those come out might be just fine. So those are the Zen and Idle Helios are kind of a pair. I think the Zen has a little bit stronger core and the Helios has a little bit stronger cover, but they should kind of work sideways with each other. And then the Hyped Hybrid is stronger than its line might suggest. It acts a lot like the Wrecker or the Punch Out from several years ago, where it's pretty strong for being an HP2 ball. It's kind of rolly and not necessarily chuggy, but it does like to slow down. So it's something that I think that you'll be surprised with that one, instead of just kind of being, it's a ball down if they get dry and I need something. That one might I'd pay attention to that one. And then the UC3 is wild. That's the only, you're going to have to experience it to understand it, because it kind of wants to act like urethane, but it kind of wants to act like a reactive ball. So it's either got a lot of shape for a urethane ball, or it's got a lot of control for a reactive ball. So it's kind of right in the middle, and it's one of those things you just kind of have to experience.
Well, I can't throw actual real urethane. I've tried it, and I like the fact that it gets through the fronts and the middle is great, but I can't make it shape off the back end. I don't know. I understand how the two-handers do it. I see some one-handers throwing it and carrying, and I don't know how they do it. I know that they're probably slightly better than me, but for me, I thought I'd try that. The Bowler's Journal, especially, somewhere where you almost always have to be right and going straight up the gutter. A lot of times, we see a lot of the scoring being done that way, on one side or the other. So I figured I'd throw that one in there. I really don't have anything that's even close to that. So I feel bad though, because you told me you mentioned the Soul and you mentioned the Nova, and I didn't get either one. I kind of got on the site and kind of panicked at the end. I thought, well, wait a minute, I need something lower down here. I'm going to get that, and then I'll worry about the Zen Soul or the Nova. And of course, every score that we see coming out of there right now, somebody saying, "Oh yeah, I threw the Zen Soul and it was great." And I saw one that was polished that looked really good, and I can't remember whose video of that I watched, but it looked really good rolling down the lane. So I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of those out there. I'll figure out a way to get one here before I make it out there, whether it's new or used. But I'm going to plug that into my arsenal overall. And I've got some other pieces. I've got all kinds of stuff, actually, that I just don't throw a whole lot of. I've talked to you a little bit about the RSTX2 and how early it is for me. We saw Danielle throwing it today, and it's anything but early.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Actually, it's in my car. I think I might during the show here, or at some point I'll run out to the car and show you the layout.
Yeah, I want to see the layout, and I've got that will be a cool thing with Steve Klunken next week, is because I can actually bring down the layout tools, and we're gonna lay out. He's gonna give you numbers. We're gonna lay it out right here, and be a little kind of an interesting training session too. So
that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean,
a hands-on show and tell type of deal.
That's quite a resource to have in your back pocket when Mr. Klemkin, who's been in R&D for a while there, he's not there now, but he's also bowling this week. Should be bowling next couple of days because he was talking about traveling this week and why he couldn't come on the show.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know if the balls were going to arrive today anyway, so we scheduled him for next week. He'll have been out there also, which I think is important.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
And Steve has seen me throw, and he knows the challenges that are upon him.
Yeah.
So
the challenges ahead.
Yeah. Besides the track record of not doing so good, it's one of these years before it gets too late, and before I end up having to do like you and bowl left-handed at all times, we'll figure it out. But we have figured out our technical difficulties. And we talked to Birgit Poplar.
Yeah.
I believe she got married.
She got her first name right at least.
Noreiks this time. I got one of the two right, but she talked a little bit about Mike Wolfe, some glowingly and some not so glowingly. So let's bring him in now. He's at the airport. He was just in Cedarville, Minnesota. Mike, welcome to the Bowler Show.
Hey, yeah, it's kind of hard to hear you through an airport, but I'll do the best I can.
We'll do our best here.
All right. Well, you've got not the greatest connection now. Are you able to hear us okay?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm almost to my gate, so I can get to a quieter place.
Okay.
And you let us know if you've got a bolt too, okay?
Yeah.
No, I'm good. I got about 45 minutes before I leave, so I'm good.
All right.
Oh, awesome.
Cool.
All right. Well, as we said, we just had Birgit on here talking about the 2022 Queens. She talked a little bit about how, you kept her calm besides some of the stuff you talked about and throwing the two different balls. Take us through, like when you have one of your bowlers on the show, take us through what are some of the main things you're trying to do?
I'm going through a tunnel.
Okay. No problem. We'll revisit that question when you get through there.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, you're talking about
For those of you watching, Mike Wolfe is walking through the Minneapolis airport, I would imagine, right now. There's an unknown person coming into the screen going, how did I get on here in the photo, Mom?
Yeah. That's the guy behind me.
Luke, this is some of the fun part of
This is the exciting part of
the fun part of live radio. Well, it used to be on the radio, but we're getting a lot of good views of your face here, Mike.
Yeah, there it is. But the speaker's down.
Are you ready to settle in?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I'm gonna throw out a question. If you can't hear it, let us know. But we were talking to Birgit about some of the things that you did to help keep her calm. And talking about the bowling equipment. When you're on the show and you've got a bowler, what are some of the main things you're focusing on to help them?
Well, the main thing is each player is different, but obviously you want to keep them comfortable, keep them into their A game of sorts if you can. Birgit likes to play the hold, likes to kind of keep it up the lane. So we use a lot of shine. We used balls that would get through the front. I think her ball roll matched up perfectly for what was on the Queens. And so we were just trying to keep her comfortable to where she likes to see hold, and whatever ball choices we made, obviously had to make sure they got through the pins, but still make her comfortable to where she wasn't getting too deep and she wasn't too far right.
All right. And what I was semi-listening there too. We're having a little trouble on our end also. What went into the decision to throw two different balls on two different lanes?
Just the characteristics of the pair. Some pairs the left lane was tighter, some pairs it hooked more, vice versa. She got on that TV pair, and it was kind of, let me think, one of the matches with Julia Bond is when she really first did it. She switched to the 3D on the left lane because she needed a little bit more back end from the knockout. There was times if she moved, 3 or 4 boards, we couldn't get it through the pins. It was just too strong and too forward. So she would switch to the 3D to create a little more back end. And then we got to the TV pair, and it's basically just the opposite.
Okay, well, we just kind of threw you on the show here real quick. For the people who may not know exactly what you do on tour, on the PWBA tour, tell everybody what you do.
I watch ladies bowl all day.
Tough
That's
job.
about it.
Yeah.
I don't really do much. I count the balls on the truck, and I really Jeff Smith's kind of helping me out, but we kind of do whatever it takes for the ladies to be comfortable. Ball suggestions, layouts. We just kind of do the rep thing for Brunswick and all the 7 brands of Brunswick.
Jeff Smith, is he a left-hander?
No, he's right-handed.
Okay.
Carrie Smith is his boyfriend, and
different one.
sorry, yeah, Carrie Smith is his girlfriend, which she just won the regional today in Minneapolis.
Oh wow!
So yeah, pretty good little team chemistry going right now.
Okay, who's one of your favorite bowlers to work with, and who's one of your least favorite bowlers to work with?
Well, I probably can't tell you the least favorite.
Fair enough.
They're all equally fun to work with. They all have different aspects and different things they like to see. Everyone is a different challenge. You get Liz Culkin that likes to play the hook. She likes to play down lane friction. You get Shannon Pohowski that, depending on how the left's playing, she might be throwing a ball that we hit with screen. So it's just kind of everybody's got a different, you got Birgit that plays up the lane. We've got Sydney Brummett that's kind of finding her way with all the new balls and trying to get her feet underneath her and get comfortable. So we've got an array of players that all have different challenges, but I wouldn't say any of them are more fun or less fun to work with.
All right. Well, the last time I talked to you in text, you had won in 2016. How much bowling are you getting to actually do right now?
Not much, which is fine. That was kind of the agreement with Brunswick that I still competed in the TFC because I was still eligible for it. But I actually defunct my membership at the Masters, I believe, when all the chaos was ensuing. Just not a fan of the direction that they're going. So I'm no longer a member, and it's been probably a couple months since I laced them up.
Meg, I hope I'm doing this right. Is it you that has the impersonation of Mitch Beasley?
No, that's not me. That's Flanagan, isn't it?
Yeah, Flanagan. I thought Flanagan had. I knew Flanagan did, but I thought he had one of his bowlers on, and I thought it was you for some reason. But anyway,
no, I think he's always had the impression we just sit and I just sit and listen to him make fun of Mitch Beasley.
All right. Before I turn you over to Luke, tell us a little bit about some of the latest pieces out from Brunswick.
Well, we're just going to announce, and I think the ladies get them next week in Florida, the Attitude and Attitude Control, the Diva Diamond, and the Stealth. The ladies haven't had them in their hands yet. I think all the shipments went out last week, so we're excited about some of those pieces. The latest ones that everybody's been kind of throwing and been popular have been the Columbia Speed, Power Torque Pearl. Hammer balls are getting a lot of use with the Ghost and the Obsession Tours. So we're getting DV8's got the Damn Good Verge available. We can go through 7 brands. It's a lot of balls, but it seems like we're always introducing something every month.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that it's difficult, but do you have some of the players that trend towards a couple certain brands, like they might favor Brunswick and Hammer, and then you have some that might favor Track and Columbia? Or is there a good enough mix where you kind of think, well, something new comes out, let's just throw it at them and see what happens? And then, like you said, you got so many bowler styles to remember, and this one likes to do this, and this one likes to do that, and this one likes shiny stuff, or this one likes stronger stuff, or how do you kind of manage all that?
Well, there is a great balance between all the 7 brands. Bigfoots are very popular from Radical, Speeds, like I said, with Columbia, the whole Hammer line. Everybody's kind of comfortable with that. So we're kind of bits and pieces. Quantum Evo, Pearl. Everybody's got one in their bag from Brunswick. So there's pieces through every brand that kind of somebody has to have or kind of needs in their bag. And it's just kind of, we don't really gravitate towards a brand. If there's a shape or a motion that we're looking for, it could be any of those 7 brands. But there's pieces that kind of everybody has in their bag.
Okay. Let me see here. I had another question, but
Did that answer your question?
Spaced it there. Yeah. No, that answers the question. I was trying to listen and think about the next one. I lost the next one I was going to ask you, but so the difference between being a player and being a rep, does it give you? I don't know how to put this really, but some of the ones that have been a rep for a longer time. I mean, you were a player just a pretty short time ago. What's it like going from the one side to the other side, and how has being a player at a high level helped you be a rep for other players at a high level?
Well, I think it's competing on the patterns and kind of a version of the patterns, understanding motion and what I use to be successful ball motion wise. Some of the tricks here and there and I worked with some of the best reps in the industry for years. Rick Benoit was always one of the best. John Jowdy, Chad Murphy, all those guys taught me how to be better and make me the bowler that I was. So learning from all of them and understanding what they see has kind of transpired into kind of what I see and how I went about attacking certain patterns or even layouts or ball choices. It all kind of goes hand in hand. That I wouldn't say you kind of create an advantage, but you have a different eye for what you're looking for and how the lanes play.
Is there one facet that you think that you really like the mental game, or do you like ball reaction? Do you like? I mean, you got some of the best footwork in the game ever, period. So do you have one thing that you kind of like working with the players more on?
I would say ball choices. I've always been, my mom and dad had a pro shop. I've always been the ball guy. I like new balls when they come out. I was always excited as a kid when new stuff came out. So I always learned the balls. I took the time to kind of understand the balls. We have a big cheat sheet from Brunswick of all the balls and what they are. And that still fascinates me. Telling them to change balls and then it works into a 5 or 6 bagger or they strike out. That's the fun part. Making a bad choice, that's not a very fun part. Obviously Dasha made a bad choice today, but that's kind of part of it. You kind of go with what you're comfortable with and hope it works out. But I kind of like the ball side of it, especially with we're going to launch 60 something balls this year, so it's a lot to learn and it's a lot to stay on top of.
Yeah, that's that kind of what does it for me too. I like the differences in cover formulas, and just because something's a hybrid or a solid or pearl, then that may not necessarily mean anything. Or I like friction responses between different cover formulas. And Dave just kind of shakes his head at me and goes, "I don't. How is this ball different from this ball?" I'm like, "Well, let me tell you."
Well, and that's if you compare it to like Evo, Quantum Evo Pearl, and Black Widow Ghost, they're basically similar balls if you read them on paper, but core shapes and core numbers, and then 2 pearls kind of going down the lane, they don't roll anything alike, so they kind of complement each other. But it's a trick to kind of figure out when that shape or a certain shape is in play and how long you can use it for. So that's kind of where the fun part comes in with the balls, is having them in order to where you know what to tell the girls what, and even the guys too, what to change to, what to look for, and when they're going to change, and kind of stay on top of everything.
Yeah.
I think what Luke was trying to say earlier is you've done a great job going from bowler to ball rep, unlike some guys like Jason Couch, who were a great bowler and failed miserably as a ball rep.
Yeah, he repped for me one year at the World Series. I even roomed with him that year. He was terrible. He's the worst I've ever had.
We love giving Jason that shout out. It's been kind of fun between some of the guys we've talked with the Ebonite and Brunswick brands. So, Mike, I know you're on your way to your next stop. So I just want to take a moment. Thank you for coming on such short notice. We're talking to Birgit, and I thought, hey, this would be a great time with you being on the show the last couple of weeks to get your perspective on what's going on out there. And we really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate the invite, and I'd be more than happy to come back on sometime when we got a little more time.
Awesome. We will take you up on that. So we'll let you go. Safe travels, sir, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right. That is Brunswick rep Mike Wolfe joining us here on the Bowler Show. Luke, I thought it'd be a good idea. Hey, Birgit was on. I know Mike was roaming around there, and I thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. And lo and behold, we got him on. We were trying for Shannon, not to say that we didn't want Mike on, but if Shannon had said yes, we would have probably put her on there. And I believe our next guest is roaming around in the queue. I'm still looking to see if Mike was still in the queue listening to us. So we always have fun with Jason Couch, though. I know whenever we can bring that up, we have to do that. So, all right, it is time. It's 7:20. You guys know what time it is. It's time for Aaron Smith's airtime. Smith segment. We still have no name for that. We've gotten no good suggestions on the internet, Luke. So, Aaron, you got anything for us on that? Or are we just going to say, hey, guys, it's Aaron Smith?
I'm fine with that, gentlemen. That works perfectly fine. I told you the burden was on you specifically, Dave, to figure this out. So until you do that, I'm just fine with being introduced as Aaron Smith, the other guy, whatever you want to call me. All good. How you guys doing today?
We're doing great. And actually, you're the first guy today that we've really had a good connection with. So this is kind of a breath of fresh air, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one of those.
Mike. Once Mike got through the tunnel there and got situated, that was pretty okay. I always love watching him bowl, so it was pretty good to talk to him. So,
all right, big goings on out there as usual each and every week, Aaron. And I know you've got all kinds of stories, but I think one that really hit close to home was when father and son, I believe, had the front eight either earlier today or yesterday. I forget. Take us through that moment.
Yeah, that was pretty fantastic. That was actually earlier today. Fred Mclean from Allen Park, Michigan, a 1987 Team All Events champion here at the Open Championships, celebrated his 50th tournament appearance yesterday. Wow. So number 50 in the books. Fred's been doing this a long time. He's averaged, nearly 200 over the course of his first 49 years. And his grandson, Marcus Mclean, kind of came into some fame at the OC a couple years ago in Syracuse, bowling with Kurt Pelon, Billy Orlikowski's group as well, Ryan Mao, when they won regular team in 2018. Yeah. Pretty cool just there. The grandfather and grandson having Eagles at the Open Championships, and then they're bowling their singles event, nothing too crazy with it. And then all of a sudden, both of them start striking. Marcus was a frame or two ahead, and all of a sudden, we look up at the scoreboard. Fred's striking too. They're bowling right next to each other. They both have the front eight at one point. Marcus, unfortunately, 9-pinned. It was brutal, absolutely brutal 9-pin in the ninth. For Fred, his shot went a little high on the head pin. He left a 6-10 to end his run. Marcus ended up winning the game 267 to 264, although, obviously they were both rooting on each other. Very cool moment, though, for them to share together. But just as a heads up, Fred's still way ahead in total pinfall overall for the for the career. So Marcus still has a ways to go. But Marcus Mclean, a great collegiate star at Indiana Tech these past couple of seasons as well, along with winning the Open Championship. So excited to see what is next in his career. But for Fred, definitely a lot of emotion with number 50 coming up yesterday and everything he's experienced with the event. A lot of family in attendance for him. So very cool atmosphere to be in. And then to see them both go for the front eight was pretty cool, pretty unique as well.
Kind of a black cloud 2-for-1 there. I mean, I get all that when I get one guy. You got two guys at once there. Of course, you're going to be there to record history, and that's just the way it is. People are going to have to deal with that. But that's the first thing I thought of. I'm sure people were yelling at you, of course. I remember when I was out there, and even in our tournaments here in town, I get yelled at some. We took a week off last week, and we didn't get a chance to catch up with you. So in the last 2 weeks, I don't think there's been a whole lot of movement, at least in the regular division at the top of the leaderboard, correct?
Well, you did miss one, that whole week we took off. We happened to have, I believe, 3 800s and 8 300s. So we did have a lot of big scores and one lead change in the regular division. So Scott Patke from Lansing, Michigan, just bowling his third or fourth Open Championships, 835 in singles, 279, 278, 278. The first 800 in singles this year. So I think that was kind of one of the numbers we thought eventually was going to be eclipsed. 796 was leading before that. So we got that first 800 in singles, and we got it by a lot. It's the biggest score in singles since Bo shot 862 in 2009, which is pretty crazy to think about with, a lot of big scores, a lot of winning scores in the 820s low 830s since then. But yeah, Scott Patke had never shot 800 before either, which was the crazy thing. So to do it the first time at the Open Championships, and he was cool, calm, and collected. Wasn't showing any super excitement through it. Was just going through. Bowled collegiately at Saginaw Valley, so obviously a great pedigree of bowling teams and athletes from that school over the years. And bowling with a bunch of his teammates who he competed with back in the early 2010s, and just a very cool moment. We had an 800 earlier that day by Stephen Dale Jr. Both of those at the 7 a.m. squad. So, folks, that's when you get your strikes, by the way, is bowling 7 a.m. It was pretty crazy to have back-to-back 800s after only having 2 for the whole year to that point. But Scott Patke, 835, the big number to chase now in regular singles. Then we had a great run at all events. So Brian Wallachek still leading at 22.41. Justin Knowles, though, from Michigan, shot a 300, 22.22 to move into third place. He actually had a chance to take over the lead heading into the final game. Needed to shoot, I believe, 298 was the number to tie Brian. Started off with the front 7 before a 7-pin slowed him down in the 8th frame. He struck out for 279 to move into second. So those were the big moves in the regular division, kind of in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There's been so many 300s, but really not that many 800s. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, technically, you can't say a whole lot about what's the shot or anything like that, and you don't even know. But I wonder why there's so many of those. It's funny because when you said, hey, the 835 was the first 800, it just kind of hit that. It just seems like the conditions are there for the 300s, but not necessarily through all 3 games to make it to 800.
Well, I mean, you're right. I can't talk a lot about it because I don't know a lot about it. But yeah, I mean, to think about it, obviously, stepping up in the 10th frame. You mentioned clouding people, and unfortunately, along with folks talk about there being a lot of 300s this year. There's been a lot of folks who have gotten close, and unfortunately, the pins haven't cooperated. In the 9th and the 10th frame, whenever it may be. But to pry off a 300 here, you need those 3 great shots in the 10th for the 800. That's 3 games worth to get there. And obviously, we've had a lot of people make the turn at 520, 530 this year, and we just had this past squad, Lenny Borsch, Hall of Famer, and his talented crew out here. Lenny made the turn at 535. That looked like the transition hit their pair a little bit. They struggled in game number 3 to slow down. So it can, as quick as it comes, it can go away just like that too. But it takes something special to keep it going for 3 games here at the Open Championships. You need some hits along the way too. You can throw it great for every single shot. You need a couple 9 pins out there. Andrew Anderson the other day, 3 messengers in the 10th for 300. So you got to get some hits along the way too.
Yeah, we saw that video, and the 10th one kind of got blocked out there a little bit. Andrew running it out, but to have all 3 do that, I'm not sure that's ever going to happen at the USBC Championships. I'd never seen it happen in real ever where somebody's done that, but that just shows you his ball roll. It's pretty amazing. So 835. What do you put a percentage on that? What do you think of that as far as holding up to win an eagle?
Well, if I'm Scott Patke, it's 100%. So I'm sure that's what he's thinking right now, or hoping at least. That's a number. I mean, you have to make the turn at 535 at least. So you basically got to go 265 or more than that. Basically 270 a game out of the gates. So you need to strike 22 times almost in the first 2 games. I mean that number is huge, but looking back, we mentioned Bo's 862, 857 was leading before that. Ron Vokes, I'm sure was probably feeling pretty confident about that number. He still got all events that year with the record score at the time, but we've seen it happen before here at the Open Championships that no score is safe until that final shot is thrown.
Yeah, and they did that at Baton Rouge, I believe, where Ron shot 857, and then he got eclipsed by Bo. I think I might have shot 1550 that year. I don't know.
I think Baton Rouge was that or Albuquerque was my lowest set.
Well, Baton Rouge was tough in 2012, but 2009 was when was here in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So that was Cashman Center though. So that was the build out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 2008 was Albuquerque, and 7 was Reno, and then 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
10 back in Reno. Back in the days when we went to Reno every 3 years. And I enjoy it. Not to get too deep into that, but I enjoy Reno and Vegas.
I love Reno and Vegas. I'm not a big gambler, so
yeah,
I spend all my time at the bowling center. So that's Reno and Vegas
feel
are great
for the East Coast guys, but I don't mind it there. Their stadiums there. They're both perfect venues to me for the bowling part, which is the main part. And then you've got the residuals with being in Reno and Vegas. And then not having to, build a brand new bowling center and a convention center every time. So I get the complaints, but I have no problem myself in Reno and Vegas. And I'm not sure about you and even Matt, how you guys felt about that, but I have no problem. I am a Reno Vegas guy.
Well, as many folks know around the bowling parts, that I would gladly be the next mayor of Reno. If it came down to it, I would step in and fill that role. That's how big of a fan I am of the biggest little city in the world. So I make trips there just to go there. No bowling balls involved, no covering bowling involved. So Reno is up there for me in like places to go and hang out just for fun and to have a good time. So that's where I stand on that. So obviously I'm pretty excited about anytime we can go to the National Bowling Stadium.
Yeah, that was back when you had vacations. Your days of vacations are now gone. I would vote for you for mayor. I mean, I know you know everything about Reno, probably more than some of the locals. So I would vote. You got my vote. Let's put it that way.
I think they just announced, didn't they, 2029 and 2032, I think. They just, is that what I was seeing?
That there are some things going on with that, and so we'll actually have a little bit more on that coming up in the next couple of weeks, I believe. So, cool. but things are moving toward the future. Yes.
The East Coast can deal with it. I didn't really enjoy Syracuse, so we can just keep going back to keep going to Reno and Vegas. So
how did you? We'll leave Aaron out for a second. How do you fare from the convention centers to the stadiums? I do better in the stadiums. As bad as I am, I've always done better there. I hear the arguments both ways, but I just prefer the stadiums.
I prefer the stadiums, but I mean, I didn't do too bad in Syracuse. The bowling was okay. I've done the best my best score was in Reno a long time ago, and I like bowling in Vegas, so I think that might be a thing, is just where you like bowling at. The convention centers seem a little, it just misplaced, because the bowling stadium is built for bowling. The convention centers are kind of, you're taking bowling and you're putting it somewhere else, and so it's a little weird to kind of go from convention center. It's like, oh, all of a sudden you go through this. No, there's lanes there. So
yeah, and Aaron, I know you can't get too deep into this, but it's, I don't think the average bowler that complains about where it is thinks about all of the work that has to go into just like God. Luke said, just bringing
holy crap.
Yeah, just bringing it there, and then finding
2 or 3 months.
Finding a city that's going to give up that space for 3 or 4 months. It's just very difficult. So actually, let's just turn this around. Aaron, you got any other questions for Luke and I?
Yeah.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Well, since we just
I actually do have one for you, Dave. Are you signed up for the Super Senior Classic coming up in a couple of days at Samstown? I
am not.
Why not?
Well, I'm just not very good. Actually, I can't even hardly walk right now. I've got a knee situation, and let's put it this way: it found a new way to pop in a new area, and now I'm working on that. So. A couple of years ago in 19, I bowled the Senior Masters, the Senior U.S. Open, and Nationals right in a row. It fit into the schedule in 2019, so I was able to do that. But no, I am not ready for Vegas yet.
Well, Dave, that was a poor attempt at humor on my part. I was trying to say you were at least 60 to bowl that event. So.
Oh, you said super. I thought you meant I was good.
We were both sitting here grinning, and you just
missed that.
Yeah.
I set that one up, and it just right over there. All right, that's okay.
That's normally how jokes work out for me. Like I really, really think about them, and I put the effort into them, and you sell them so well, and they don't hit, and then
I heard senior.
Yeah.
I never heard. I thought you were describing my game when you said
No,
super.
it was done so well that it just.
I'm not far away. And yeah, I missed that completely. But give me 3 years.
I remember the senior Masters trip and the senior U.S. Open all kind of tied into that here in Vegas a couple of years ago. So, but yeah, another exciting thing coming to Vegas in the next actually like 3 days is when practice starts for the Super Senior Classic, June 1st for that. Tournament kicks off on Bowl TV June 2nd to the 5th, and then follows right into the Senior Masters through the 12th. So across town, Samstown, the place to be for those events coming up in the next 2 weeks, basically. And we've already seen some of the players who will be competing make their way to Las Vegas. Had Tom Hess on the lanes last night. Walter Ray was here yesterday as well. Bo Gergen, a brand new USBC Hall of Famer. Bob Learn Jr. was just on the lanes bowling with Lenny Borsch. So it's I'm sure we're going to see a few more of those guys making their way over to the OC as well, and kind of try to work the schedule to maybe where, both qualifying one day and then come here for the next day. We've seen that in the past. So as when we were talking a little bit earlier today, Dave, I'm not sure who's coming yet, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more big names pop up on the board. And one person who's not bowling those events, but whose name is on the board coming up tonight, I'm sure folks will be keeping an eye on, is Chris Vide, the defending regular all events champion as well, coming up for his title defense in the next 2 days.
Yeah, without calling you out too badly here on the show, I was a little disappointed that your whiteboard wasn't 2 or 3 months down the road like the previous gentleman. And I'm real disappointed my name's not on there yet, but well, I'm sure you'll get to that.
I still got room up there for it.
Not room for my ego up there, but and I'll kind of spill the beans here. I'm going to put you on the spot, Aaron, because I don't even think I've talked to Luke about this. But one way or another, once I get your approval or USBC or whoever I need, I'm going to try to do the show on Sunday, June 12th from Las Vegas, and at some point, at some place in there. Hopefully I'm not saying anything that is impossible here. But one way or the other, if I have to not be in the venue or whatever, I'll figure it out. But I would like to do the show from there. Maybe get an idea of who's coming up in a couple of weeks when I get out there, and see if there's anybody in town who could come on the show with us. But I think that'd be kind of fun. I did it once before. I'm almost sure I did it from right where you're sitting, but I was on the phone back then when we were in the radio days. But I had somebody come in there as a guest. I can't remember. But anyway, little teaser. I'm going to try to do the show remotely. Luke, you're going to be manning the board back here, and we'll see what we can get done with that. And Aaron, I don't know if you'll have an area for me, but as long as the hot dog cart is out there, I'll be fine.
I tested it out today. Everything's still fully operational, so you're good to go on that. But we know the internet connection is good here, Dave. So
Yeah.
So the office is always a reasonable choice, and we'll as we mentioned, Senior Masters, that's the day of the stepladder finals. So we know some folks will be in town. Hopefully we can potentially see them over here as well for the show. That'd be a pretty nice mix of things happening all at the same time.
All right. Have you changed the secret code on the door, or do I need to get that again?
We changed it specifically once you left. So yes.
I was eating Robin and Key and somebody else's candy jars on the way out there. I was going right through Brandy's stuff too, so I can understand why the code's been changed.
The candy jar is still there though. So for your trip in a couple of weeks, you'll be ready. We'll have it fully stocked for you.
I appreciate that, and I hope I'm still in the good graces of everybody there in the office. And it's something, I mean, it would be fun to do there, of course, and being on site, and of course, not showing any of the bowling or anything like that, but just being on site, having, like we could have you, we could bring in Chip, we could bring in whoever, any of the bowlers or whatever we want to do. We got a lot of ways we can go with that. So we'll talk more about that off the air. But anything else going on out there that we need to know about? You've talked about Chris coming in. Anybody else? I know you don't go too far down the line, but anybody else you can think of that's coming in the next week or so?
And like I said, I got the board through the end of the month. So I do see David Haynes coming up. He was third place in regular singles. He'll be bowling team on the 31st. So usually he bowls with a pretty stacked crew as well. Saw Alex Hoskins in the Storm booth today as well. So I think he's part of that group. Just as we have here at the OC, you never know who's going to show up. Always have big teams rolling in, big players, great talents out in the sport of bowling. So we look forward to seeing who's next, and hopefully seeing who's going to make the next run and next video at the front 11 that we have here at the OC this year. So it's been exciting, and of course, one quick thing I forgot to mention earlier. As we signed off last time, I mentioned Adam Barta's crew was hitting the lanes. Then Brian Wallachek took the all events lead. They moved into second place in team all events. I know specifically Adam wanted to give Mike Rose a big thank you for their pineapple shirts in doubles and singles for that. So I just wanted to mention that. I saw other people wearing them recently at the Open Championships as well. So it's a trend moving forward. So the pineapple shirt, very, very tropical. It seemed to work for them. So more people are doing it now. So I know Adam loves that shirt so much. I want to make sure I mention that here on the Bowler Show, that Adam Bart, a big fan of the doubles and singles shirts they had as they nearly took over the league in team all events. So that's all I have. I know you guys got another great guest coming up here, so I don't want to take up too much more time, but I appreciate it as always.
All right. Well, since you got to get out of here, we'll let you go. Actually, our next guest is not in the queue yet, so we're working on getting her in there. But
Yeah.
Adam had his own run there at the singles there at the end until he was derailed by the black cloud that came in and took him out. I did like the way you came onto the air for that one. You came on, you said, well, we had two things going here, and now all of a sudden after a couple of shots, those are out of the way, but you still had Brian going for regular all events. So that was an exciting video. And he just, 740, 750, 750, just like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
It was incredible to watch, just the consistency, and even starting singles for Brian. He was 220s out of the gates, and all of a sudden, at first I think he needed to get to 725, 727, something along that range, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, now he's got to go 500 over. Had a big split conversion in that game as well, but the pace of it was nuts. They had the chance to take over. Adam could have gotten to singles. Team all events was still out there, and then all events for Brian. And then all of a sudden, within two shots after we had gone, all of a sudden, boom, we were left just for Brian. That's how quick the pinfall can get away from you if you don't continue to strike. And I know for that team, definitely so close. And the second highest score of all time, unfortunately, not enough to take the lead here this year. But another great performance by Team NABR. But Delore Brothers won. What a year for Michigan overall, just at the Open Championships. So many great performances from bowlers from Michigan. It's been fun to watch.
No doubt. All right, well, we'll let you go. We'll let you get prepped up. I know you've got a lot of stuff to do for my appearance on June 16th with the red carpet, with the giant 25-year plaque. Finally getting to after 3 years of not bowling. But we kid about that stuff, but we always appreciate the hospitality that we get out there. And hopefully we can make the show work in a couple of weeks. We'll see what we can do. Aaron, you have a good night, and thanks for coming on again, sir.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Luke. You guys have a good one.
All right.
Yep. See you.
Aaron Smith, Communications Director, PR Specialist. What other accolades can we give him there? He's doing it all right now, and
We can just make stuff up at this point. Make it sound good.
We appreciate the time. Like I said, I've never realized the valuable time that Matt gave us over the years and that Aaron's given us now. So, all right. Well, it looks like we've got our anchor person in the queue. Let's go ahead and bring her on. She is a PWBA Hall of Famer. She's a Storm Roto person, of course. Her name is Carolyn Dorin-Ballard, and as we said earlier,
The Halls of Fames.
when you do the initials, that makes you very special. Carolyn, welcome to the Bowler Show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you just
Awesome.
fine.
Awesome.
You doing okay?
Awesome.
Oh, phone
Doing
problem.
it right?
Yeah.
Huh? What?
Said you got the phone ready. Looks like you're good to go. That's perfect.
I'm good to go. Yeah, threw on some lipstick, pulled my hair back, and I'm ready to roll. We're setting up for a graduation party. We have an early start tomorrow, and it's craziness. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with the Hall of Fame induction. That had to be an incredible moment for you, a culmination of your career. Talk about what happened last week.
It was pretty. It was definitely one of the best evenings of my life by far. You prepare for it when they tell you you're nominated, or you've been selected. And, that was in 2020. And then, of course, COVID hit. And then the next year, we didn't have it either. So I had 2 years to prepare, and I was not prepared. So, they want you to sum your career up in 15 minutes, and it's just absolutely impossible. It really is. So I did run a few minutes over, but I felt that I wanted my speech to be a little bit about where I came from, what I did, and where I'm headed. But I wanted everyone to leave, especially the younger generation. I wanted everyone to leave with oh, wow, I could do it. Or, I can do it if she can, because I was always one of the many, not the few. And I wanted them to leave also with knowing that they need each other if they intend for women's bowling to move forward, that not just one gets anything done, it takes a village, and that they need to rely on each other to move women's bowling forward.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about that village. Obviously, Dell's been a big influence on your career. Talk about Dell and some of the other people that have influenced you along the way.
Oh, there's a lot of people. Where I was raised, Jersey Lanes, the original owner of the bowling center, John Fatigatti Sr., he would let me sharpen pencils behind the desk, and he'd let me practice after league was done. And then his son, Chuck, took the bowling center over, and then now his son, John, has taken it over. And Chuck was my first sponsor on tour. So, right then and there, a gentleman took a chance on me when I was a nobody. I just had a dream. My dentist, Dr. Stuart Neese, he also gave me a little money to bowl. So, that's where I started from. I started from nothing. Thank God I had a great pro shop guy. I've, knock on wood, even at the age I'm at now, I have no problems, no injuries. Sure, my hip gets a little sore now, after 30-something years of bowling. But, I had a lot of people starting just that way, moving up through the college ranks, where many of the people in the area gave of their time, their money, so that we could go on our college trips. And then on tour, it's just an endless array of unbelievable people I've met throughout the years. Fred Borden, Bill Hall, Rick Benoit, Dell, obviously, Brian Purcell, Bill Supper. I mean, the entire Storm and Roto Grip crew now, who many of them worked for other companies at the time. And, now we're all at a different place, and we're all kind of coming back around together. Chris Schlemmer. So I guess I just want, again, it's something else I just wanted to get across is you never know who you're going to meet. And you never know how they're going to influence your career. I mean, Chris Schlemmer was drilling bowling balls on the PWBA truck when it was LPBT at the age of 19. I mean, who knew that now, 30 years later, he'd be like a son to me, and he's the Roto Grip brand manager, and I'm on staff. So it's just crazy how we think the industry is so big, but it really is in some ways so small. So you just need to make sure that throughout your journey, you recognize paths that you may cross, because you may see them again.
Exactly. And let's go back to the very, very start of your career at college. You may or may not know this. I'm sure you don't know this, but my wife went to Central Missouri State when you were at West Texas A&M.
Okay.
So, talk a little bit about, I saw you bowl back then, and your sister, of course. Talk a little bit about when you were in college. At what point, let's just make the question this, at what point during college or even before did you think, hey, I'm gonna go through college and then I'm gonna be a professional bowler?
Oh, that's it. That's actually an easy question. I bowled a lot in college. We bowled every weekend. We bowled twice a week in league. I practiced every day. And it was my junior year in college. that I truly put it was always on my list a little bit, but it was my junior year when a few of my friends who had already graduated had gone on to tour, and a couple of them after a couple years made a few shows, and I was like, you know what? I want to do that. I mean, it looks like they're having fun. They're doing what they love. I know it's a lot of work. I knew their work ethic. So it was that time that I definitely decided, as I moved forward into my senior year of college, that I was not only training for my senior year of college, but I was also training for what I would do beyond that. And I was not prepared. I was not ready for the tour. If it was like it is now, then with all that I bowled and all I participated in, I would have been ready, like these kids now. But then you needed to, your training ground was being on tour and getting your lumps for 2 or 3 years, and then you became a good bowler. You didn't have as many events. You didn't have as many, you didn't have ball reps. You didn't have ball companies. You didn't have, you had ball companies, but not contracts. You only got one bowling ball if you made the cut. So times were different. It took you a few years before you actually got your feet wet and grew into a bowler. And then once you found what worked for you, you needed to work even harder to keep that.
Okay, let's talk about Dell for a moment. Tell us how you met Dell, and talk a little bit about some of the challenges he's had to go through in life, and of course talk about Ballard versus the Big C.
Well, I've actually known Dell since 1988. I first met him when I was at West Texas. He owned the pro shop that we all went to get our bowling balls drilled at. Nathan Terry ran the pro shop. Dell was the owner. And he would come up to Amarillo a lot because they all traveled on tour together. And when they would come home, they'd stop in Amarillo, and then everybody would go on home to Dallas. It was Chris Warren and Dell, Nathan Terry, and just a couple of people. So I met him after the week after he won the Quaker State. They came to Amarillo, and we were all at league. We hung out in the bar afterwards. We were listening to some music, and his friend said, I really want you to meet my friend Dell. And I didn't know this then, but then he said, you need to meet this girl, Carolyn from New Jersey. She's really cool. I'm like, oh, I am? Okay. And we met, and he introduced me, and he showed me he just won this tournament. I'm like, oh, good, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. And we talked a little bit. He bought us a beer, and we chatted, and that was about it. And I kind of was seeing somebody. I'm like, okay, nice meeting you, whatever. And it's so funny, though, after that meeting, every time I would see him, he would say hi. And I'd be like, hi, how are you? How you been bowling? And we actually chatted, like we did. And then we had so many mutual friends. But it wasn't until a very chance meeting, I'll be quick, I'm trying to talk really fast. It was another chance meeting that really changed everything. And I had just come off tour, and I was going home in New Jersey, and all of the guys in Texas had invited me up to Cavalier Lanes, where I bowled the league, because the US Open was going on. And I'm like, oh my God, Jack, all like my high school friends are all going to be up there. And I'm like, sure, I'll meet you guys. I'll go out to dinner. I met them. We were playing darts, and all of a sudden, like, one person went off to dinner with somebody else, and the plans all got changed, and the last two left were Dell and I. And we're like, okay, and does you want to go out and eat? And I'm like, you know what? Sure, what the heck? I mean, this is a couple of years later now. I mean, it's 3 years later, 3.5 years. I'm like, sure. So we went up the street to the Bennigans because they had great tap beer, they had great music, and we stayed at Bennigan's till it closed, and stayed hanging out in the parking lot till 4 o'clock in the morning, just chatting, just talking about life and talking about tour and talking about bowling and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, he's pretty cool. Like, this is great. Like, I had a great time. Like, we love the same music, and he's a headbanger, and I love that. And the rest is history. Who knew? So that was it. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
I went from kind of not liking them to, you're all right. I'll give you a chance. And it was awesome. And really, I say this too. And my girlfriend, Wendy McPherson, I always call her out on this because she always laughs at me when I say this. I always tell everybody, the guy's my best friend. We could sit at a bar, listen to music, and talk about anything and have the best time. I think that's important.
Right, and that's awesome, and I think I felt the same way about Dell at first too. So I could see what you're talking about there.
Yep.
But obviously, a great guy. Yeah. You guys have raised over $700,000 for the Ballards versus the Big C.
Yep.
Take a moment and talk about that.
Yep. So I talk a lot, so I'm going to talk really quick. So Dell was diagnosed in 2010, and in 2011, at the beginning of the year, I was talking with a couple friends, and we're like, hey, I said, we could do a bowling event, and I said, if we raise $10,000 and we have like 20 teams, it'll be great. We'll raise some money for some people that need help. And everybody's looking at me going, wow, you're lowballing it. Like, this is going to be so much bigger than that. I'm like, no. There's a lot of things going on in bowling. I don't want to bother anybody. Let's just kind of do our thing. And oh my God, by the third year, it's like a full year in planning, and we've got, it's craziness, and huge village, huge, all of our good friends. And then we have Tina and Terry Taylor that run the event with our entire BVBC team, Vicky Smith, Sherry, Jeannie, just everybody, Kyoko, you name it, they're there. And we benefit 3 great organizations: Cancer Care Services, Baylor All Saints, and we pick where the money goes, and the North Texas Laryngectomy Society. And everybody, please like our Facebook page and go to our website, because one thing we do is we make sure that the money that we give touches a family or a person. So it's not, again, I think research is very important, but you'd be surprised. Research is kind of taken care of. And it's the little things that people don't think about, like nutrition or a gas card to get to a chemo treatment, or you can't afford a chemo treatment, or buying a voice box. Those are the things that nobody really thinks about because they think insurance takes care of it, and they don't. Not for everybody. That's what we give our money to, is to make sure that that person affected gets the help they need.
All right, we're speaking with USBC Hall of Famer, PWBA Hall of Famer, Carolyn Dorin-Ballard on the Bowler Show. Carolyn, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host Luke, and he's got a few questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So how do you have time to do anything? I mean, because every time I don't send you emails very often. You're my rep for Turbo, and I should probably update you more often. But every time I go to do that, it's kind of like, well, she's doing this and she's doing that, and she's got this going on, and this is this and that and the other. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like how many emails do you have showing up, and how many phone calls, and how do you have time to do anything, or even practice or focus on your bowling, or and now, like you said, Alyssa's graduating, and so how do you do it?
Well, I've had a few meltdowns here and there, by all means, and 2 days ago I had one. So it's not easy, but I've had to really take a step back, and I don't think I was balancing the last few months. I wasn't balancing very well, because I think everything kind of hit me all at once about this whole graduating high school and going to college, and I'm having a little bit of anxiety about it. But you can always reach out to me, by the way. You can always send me a text message. But what I have done, it's funny that you even asked this question. This is so strange, but Dell and I, everybody was out of the house today because I needed to clean, and Dell and I just had this conversation, and I've actually I've taken a good look at what I need to do every day. Turbo is my main priority. And then there's Ballard's Bowling Academy. And then there's my Roto Grip. And then there's 3G. And, I go down, and there's Platinum Forward and Ballard versus Big C. So what I did was I prioritized. And what I've also done is set certain days aside to make sure I filter through certain things. So like Sundays, except for this Sunday, is a Ballard versus the Big C day. So get my posts up, or what are we going to do this week, or who am I going to reach out to, so that I know for the week that's taken care of. Because I know, like you just mentioned, with Turbo being my main priority, I have staffers calling me or sending me an email, and I need to take care of that. That's my priority. So I need to make sure that the Ballard's Bowling Academy, our businesses, and Ballard versus the Big C are important and taken care of. But on days when the Turbo and Roto Grip and things like that are taken care of first. And that's really what I've had to do. And honestly, I have made a few mistakes, and I have let a few emails slip through. And it's funny. I've had a call with Chris this week, and thank God I took care of it. And that's okay. It wound up all right. But I do think I get caught up in the moment just a little bit, because I think I become over passionate about things. And I've also had to take a step back with that too, because everybody's not as passionate as I am. So I tend to dive head in to everything instead of sometimes evaluating first, processing, and then having the game plan. So I've had to really take a good look at myself on that, but prioritizing has been a main goal.
Yeah. So what's things look like for Alyssa? What kind of direction is she going? How's it going to be with the bowling thing? I saw some of the prom pictures the other day. I'm sure Dad was really happy about that. But what's it look like for her going to college, and what are her plans?
She is going to Vanderbilt University. So she will be bowling for the Commodores with John Williamson and Josie Barnes as the head coach and assistant coach. She knows many of the ladies on the team, so that's kind of cool. The Storm Youth Championships has been one of the greatest things ever created, in the fact of these kids now have friends, true friendships with kids all over the country. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable, but with technology, this phone I'm on, I mean, she was just chatting away, and I'm like, who are you talking about? She's like, I'm talking to Anthony in Long Island, and I'm talking to, and I'm like, oh my God, whatever. But it's unbelievable the opportunities they have all had to become not only better bowlers and better people by giving back to charity and helping their friends, but to keep that relationship going once you leave the bowling center, I think is absolutely priceless for this generation. And I think that will also help them as they move on to the next phase of their life. So she has a bunch of tournaments coming up, state tournament. She has the SYC. She has a youth scratch masters, off to junior gold, and then to college.
Yeah. And you talked about how much better, how much more experience the kids can get now through things like the Storm Youth Championships and then college. And so when they show up, professionally, we've seen Brianna Schlemmer made a show here a couple weeks ago. Hope Gramley made the show last week. And they come out and they're so seasoned already. But the thing that really strikes me about especially the women's side is how professional they carry themselves too. Like on the Queen show last week, where Danielle just needed to stay clean against Plazas to move on. She leaves the 7-10 and she kind of smirks and walks off. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if that was me or one of the guys or something, I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm sure that she vented her frustration somewhere else off camera, but they maintain their composure so well, and they're so easy to talk to, and they manage their emotions so well. And it's just, that's something that's really impressed me with, the women specifically. I mean, the guys kind of do what the guys do, but
right.
Yeah.
I think there's something, I think there's that, they do have a uniqueness to them where it's that silent anger, I guess you could say. I'm sure Danielle was not happy, nor was she happy this evening
Yeah.
watching her bowl. But they do definitely handle it just a little bit differently. And I think, again, that comes from that generation has bowled with each other in college and in these, again, other events, junior, the junior bowlers tour. And they've come in seasoned, like you said, not only from college, but before they got to college, they were already competing in, like we said, JBTs, YMSTs, So again, they've had this long-standing relationship with these fellow bowlers. And when you are on the lanes, you're competitive. But when you're off the lanes and you're done, after your few minutes of being mad or fuming or whatever, like me, you are all friends or your family, or you have your group that you can go to. And I think that's what you're seeing. And I think it's great because I think they're phenomenal mentors for the next generation. But men and women are different in general. I think that's just sports. And I think we're all built differently. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. Me personally, I had more of an attitude, and you could tell when I wasn't happy. I'm not saying that was right all the time, because I think there are times I'd like to take some certain things back, to be very honest. But it is who you are. You know what I mean? Yeah. You are who you are. You're on the lanes trying to compete for a paycheck, your life. And so I think there's one persona there, and then there's somebody else off the lanes. And I think people need to be aware of that. And it's okay if you don't like everybody. That's okay. That's what makes life go on. But I do think the men and women are quite different. Yes.
Yeah. And one last thing for me, so as far as your own bowling, how much are you able to bowl? How many?
I'm moving with you. Go ahead. Yeah. I'm moving for a second. It's dark in here all of a sudden. Yeah. I think we're getting a thunderstorm. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no.
Go ahead.
But yeah, as far as your own bowling, how many tournaments do you make? How many tournaments do you want to make? What kind of stuff do you bowl? What kind of tournaments do you make sure that you want to, or what kind of priority tournaments do you have every year? And how on earth are you able to actually make sure that you're prepared for those tournaments?
Right. Actually, it's funny you said that, because I really had I had a schedule, and I was going to bowl the Queens, I was going to bowl the U.S. Open, the Lucy, and the tournament in Dallas. Were the four. I was going to try to get to Rockford, but my quick schedule was Women's Nationals, USBC Hall of Fame for Tammy, home for a day, Cancun, home for a day, Men's Nationals, back, now graduation. So I couldn't do that. So and then my daughter had prom and was being inducted into the Texas State Hall of Fame the weekend of the Queens. and for the U.S. Open, it's her last SYC, the mega tournament. So I have to go to that. Yeah. So this year, it's going to be a limited schedule. I'm going to bowl the Lucy tournament. And I might bowl the one in Dallas here, the last event, I believe it is. If not, I still bowl a lot of tournaments here in Dallas, Fort Worth, which we're very lucky to be in a great state that's huge for bowling. So I will be bowling some of the tournaments in the area, as well as some in San Antonio. And I am looking forward to going out to the Ron Moore tournament out in November, the senior event he has out there. And then after the first of the year, I will look at the PWBA schedule, and I will definitely bowl the Queens in the Open, and probably one or two more. I'll try to go like with 4, because there is a lot going on, and I want to watch Alyssa bowl in college, or just watch her team. I want to see her be a part of something fantastic. So that will definitely, if there's a tournament and there's a college tournament, I'm going to the college tournament. And I'll have to pick another event. So, but I will try to bowl 4 PWBA events a year. That would be my goal out of the 11. I would say 4. When you talk about practice, I have always been a big practicer. So I have scheduled that in. So when I go to give lessons, I get there early, at least 2 hours. I get my practice in, and then I give lessons. I also bowl league once a week. And I bowl on Friday nights, usually at a sweeper out in Plano for some tournament competition. because that truly is the best practice, is to actually be like league or tournaments. That's really better practice than just repeating. You practice for certain things when you're working on them, but the best practice to get you to where you want to see if it's working is actual competition. I've always said that. So that's what I do. So believe it or not, I really do get my practice in. Now this last week I didn't practice because we're planning for graduation, but on Wednesday of this week, we'll go back right into our routine.
All right, before we let you go, I got one question in the chat here that I want to cover because I'm curious about this. John Lander, who's one of our devoted listeners, is asking about the story of Luke drilling you a bowling ball. Now, do you guys remember this when this happened?
I remember it very well.
I think were we bowling a regional or something in that bowling center in Kansas City?
It was Topeka when the tour came back in 2015, and you bowled at the tournament at Westridge Lanes. Yeah, and I was the pro shop guy there at the time, and there was you had a ball drilled on the truck, and he didn't reset the pitches before he cut the top off of the switch.
Right.
And so, so Brett Cooper comes in and he says, "Hey, can you drill a ball for Carolyn?" And instantly, I just died because I've been a big fan of yours forever, and I didn't bowl in college, and so I don't know anybody, and I'm just this guy from Topeka that's now going to drill a ball, and I'm trying to think of like, oh my gosh, Carolyn, how many Carolyns are there? It can't. Hopefully, it's not that Carolyn, but of course, it's like.
And I was like, I tell you the same thing that I tell everybody else. Don't worry about it. If we screw it up, you got to plug it.
yeah. No, but he comes in and he's like, well, she's, I'm supposed to drill this, but I'm not going to be here tomorrow. And so if she needs something drilled tomorrow, then you're going to have to do it anyway. And I'm like, and he's like, you going to be okay with this? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I can hit the lines. That's the drilling is, I'm just thinking about how cool this is going to be. And so, yeah, it worked out. Out just fine.
If I remember correctly, they were high scoring.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, because I was telling everybody about Liz Colkin to begin with coming into that tournament, and she ended up shooting 300 and 837.
Yeah, they were high scoring. Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, they were pretty big scores there, but. So I put a video on YouTube about it and made a bigger deal about it than it really was, but
that's okay. I love it.
Yeah, no, it was super cool for me, and it all worked out. And
so it is a true story.
Yeah.
And somehow you're still on Turbo staff.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's how it got me on. She came in and talked to me about it. So
there you go.
All right, Carolyn, before we let you go, one more time, let people know how they can find the Ballard versus the Big C on Facebook and the website.
So we have a Facebook page, Ballard versus the Big C. There's always a donate button on there. We are revamping a few things. ballardversusthebigc.org is our website. And then we are on Instagram and Twitter. So just follow us and share. We just want to get the word out there. And again, it really is truly just to help people going through the journey. There's so many things behind the scenes that I don't think people realize. And really, that's what we try to take care of. So thanks for having me on tonight, though. This was fun. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We've been trying to get you on for a little bit. I'm glad we finally got together and got it done. We have a lot of good stories and a lot of good things to talk about. And you keep promoting our brand as good as you do, and keep doing everything you do for all the bowlers in the bowling world.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys take care.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. CDB, once again, when you go by initials, Luke, that means you've made it in the world, in the bowling world. PDW, CDB. I can't think of any others right now. Offhand, AJ Johnson, AJ Chapman, that doesn't count. But anyway, we've ran a little long, as we tend to do, and I've got some things to take care of for tomorrow. So let's wrap this thing up. We appreciate everybody who came on the show today. Appreciate all of our sponsors, of course, our title sponsor, Storm Bowling. We also want to thank Turbo Grips, Coolwick, I Am Bowling, Double J's Pro Shop, BobbyJacksons.com, Bowlers Mart, and SRGBBFS and SNH Custom Homes, of course, also. So once again, from the Rosedal Basement Studios. Do we want to have a name for this? We got to come up.
I don't know.
Got to have a name for the studios next week and a name for Aaron Smith's segment. So that's our job. Once again, thanks to Angel for producing the show, getting the links out to everybody. Maybe she can come up with a name. Maybe she's got a good name.
Yeah.
But we want to thank everybody for listening in. Sorry we didn't get to the chat quite as much as normal. We had 5 guests on, and as you know, it's an interview-driven show, but we do appreciate you guys watching. One more time, hi, Gabby. I know you're still watching. So I will be home in a couple hours, and we'll start working on the tournament tomorrow. Luke, you're going to be bowling. I'll be working. So it's another day of bowling for us.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Bowler Show. For Luke Rosedal, I'm Dave Waswo. We will see you